Hey folks, welcome to Shooting Up North. I'm your host, Louis Carlin, or her right here on the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're watching for the first time, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter at Shooting Up North, Instagram at Alliance PW Network, and feel free to join our Facebook group, the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. And we have our debut t-shirt right here, Shooting Up North. Our debut T-shirt is now available. You can order it if you go to our YouTube page. Look at the banner at the top, the Shooting Up North banner. Bottom right-hand corner, there's a link for Shooting Up North merchandise. Click on that link. It'll take you to the whatamaneuver.net page, our page on that site. You could order a T-shirt. You could order a hoodie. It might be a little too hot for hoodies. You could order a tank top. You could order these women's shirts or women V-necks. There's toddler shirts, all sizes we have. So head on over there if you want our debut t-shirt. More designs are coming. I'm working on some more designs, but this is the debut t-shirt for the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. I think it came out pretty good. So hey, if you want a Shooting Up North t-shirt, feel free to click on that link, which is on our banner, and order yours today. All right, so let's get into it. Karl Anderson. Karl Anderson wins the Never Openweight Championship. He defeated Tama Tonga at New Japan Pro Wrestling Dominion early this morning. Well, it was early this morning in Canada. It was 1 a.m. in the morning in Canada. I didn't stay up for it. I went to sleep, but I watched it. I woke up about 6 and watched the. I watched it. I streamed it off of New Japan Pro Wrestling World, but nobody really cares how he watched it, right? But Karl Anderson is the new Never Openweight champion. Again, defeating Tama Tonga. It was Tama Tonga's first defense. I think it's the first singles title for Karl Anderson in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So congratulations, Machine Gun Karl Anderson. So I have two questions. With Karl Anderson. Karl Anderson winning the Never Openweight title. So the first question is, are we going to see the Never Openweight title in an Impact Wrestling ring? Is he going to be wearing the title? And are we going to maybe even see a Never Openweight title match in Impact Wrestling? I mean, there's a lot of challengers, potentially good challengers for Karl Anderson in Impact Wrestling, such as Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Steve Macklin. There's a lot of potential good challengers out there in Impact Wrestling. Or we could even see Tama Tonga chasing Karl Anderson into Impact Wrestling, and maybe at Against All Odds on July 1st, we'll get Karl Anderson defending the Never Openweight title against Tama Tonga. Or we might not see the title at all, and there might not be any title matches at all. But I'm just wondering if that was my first question: is are we going to see the Never Openweight title in Impact Wrestling? And my second question on Karl Anderson winning the Never Openweight title is this: is this an indication that the Good Brothers are basically as good as gone when the contracts expire on July 17th, which is just about a month and 5 days away? Is this the indication that the Good Brothers are basically gone? Because or generally, I think New Japan Pro Wrestling will only put titles on New Japan Pro Wrestling talent. I can't really, the only one I can really think of, and I could be wrong, there could be others, but I know John Moxley, AEW talent. He was the IWGP US champion, but that kind of made sense because this was a few years ago. It was before COVID. New Japan Pro Wrestling, they want to gain a foothold in the U.S. with New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong. So it only made sense for them to put their U.S. title on one of the biggest stars in the U.S., John Moxley. So that made sense. But Karl Anderson winning the Never Openweight title, this could be a clear indication that the Good Brothers are basically as good as gone from Impact Wrestling. I could be wrong. They could possibly sign another 2 or 3 year deal with Impact Wrestling. But my gut feeling, and this is what I think is going to happen. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, they're going to AEW." I don't think they're going to AEW. I think they're going to sign with New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's going to be their main promotion. And when they first signed with Impact Wrestling, they when they first were released, I should say, when they were first released from the WWE, they had indicated that they wanted to sign with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Impact Wrestling was going to be their main promotion in the States, which would make sense. But now New Japan Pro Wrestling, they have New Japan Pro Wrestling strong in the States, and it's really starting to take off. So the Good Brothers' main promotion in the States would become New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, should they sign a deal, which I think they're going to with New Japan Pro Wrestling. But I think with the Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling working relationship, I think periodically we're going to see appearances from the Good Brothers in Impact Wrestling. So that's what I think is going to happen. That's what I think is going to take place. I don't think they're going to re-sign with Impact Wrestling. I think they're going to re-sign. Well, technically you can say re-sign because they were with them in the past, but they're going to sign with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they're going to be New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong is going to be their main promotion in the States, and we're going to see them from time to time making a special appearance in Impact Wrestling. So that's what I think is going to happen. That's what I think is going to happen. And again, with them working for New Japan Pro Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling being their main promotion, they could make special appearances in AEW as well. So there won't be officially signed to Impact Wrestling. So they could so the working agreements will be with New Japan Pro Wrestling. As we know right now, Impact AEW doesn't have a working relationship right now. But with New Japan Pro Wrestling, if they get permission, well, I guess they could get permission with Impact Wrestling as well. But yeah, so that's what I think is going to happen. I think they're re-sign with they're going to sign with New Japan Pro Wrestling long term, and we're going to see them in New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong as well. And like I said, they'll be making special appearances in Impact Wrestling. So that's what I think is going to go down. So I think Derby City Rumble, July 15th and 16th, quite possibly could be the last two events that the Good Brothers will be on where they're officially signed to Impact Wrestling. So we'll see. And I could be wrong. They could, we can find out tomorrow that they've signed another 2-year or maybe even a 3-year deal with Impact Wrestling. So I could be wrong, but my gut feeling tells me that they're going to sign with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, you look at Karl Anderson today. I mean, he looked just absolutely pumped to be in front of that large crowd. We'll face facts. New Japan Pro Wrestling crowds are larger than Impact Wrestling crowds. So he looked pumped to be in front of that big crowd. So we'll see what happens. It's the contract expires in a month and 5 days, so we'll keep our eyes on it, and we'll see if my gut feeling rings true, or if they in fact re-sign with Impact Wrestling, or if they sign with another promotion. So we'll see. But I got the gut feeling. All right, so should they leave? Should the Good Brothers leave and sign with New Japan Pro Wrestling? But there's one guy out there, and I got to give a shout out to Greg Blanton. Greg Blanton. I was thinking about this talent that's a free agent right now, and it was coincidentally Greg Blanton. He made a comment on my NWA video, and he has the same idea that I have. So we're starting to think alike. As he told me, he's starting to get me on the right track. Right, Greg Blanton starting to get me on the right track, according to Greg Blanton. Yeah, so there's one guy out there that I think Impact Wrestling should go after. It's Harry Smith, aka Davey Boy Smith Jr. Great talent, super heavyweight. I think if he came in, he would be a terrific challenger for Josh Alexander. Let's face facts: Josh Alexander is not going to lose to Eric Young, but I think Harry Smith coming in would be an absolutely great signing for Impact Wrestling, and they won't be using him as a Stampede stud like the WWE. Harry Smith indicated that the WWE want to debut him as a Stampede. as the Stampede stud, but that never happened, thankfully. But Harry Smith, as you know, signed with WWE. He was David Boy Smith Jr., and he had one dark match, and then they wound up releasing him. And now he's free agent. Him and Doug Williams, they won the NWA World Tag Team titles last night. But Harry Smith, free agent. I think it would be a great signing for Impact Wrestling, and I'm not talking about a 6-month signing. I'm talking about a 2-3 year deal for Harry Smith. Him and Josh Alexander battling over the Impact Wrestling World Title would be just a great. And I want to just say let's just have one match. I think it'll be a great series of matches between the two. Great talent, David Boy Smith Jr., and I think he would fit in perfectly. And Greg Blanton agrees. Greg Blanton, well, I agree with Greg Blanton, I should say. Harry Smith would be absolutely a fantastic signing for Impact Wrestling. Fantastic signing for Impact Wrestling. I could even see him having a run as the Impact Wrestling World Champion. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I'm sure he's on. I would be very surprised if he wasn't on Scott D'Amore's radar. So we'll see if Impact Wrestling does in fact make me and Greg Blanton happy, and eventually sign Harry Smith. So we'll see. But like I said, he'll be a terrific signing. Ace Austin's coming back. Ace Austin had a great run in Japan, best of the Super Juniors. He was on Dominion. He was part of a six-man tag team match against Hiromu Takahashi, Bushi, and Tetsuya Naito. His partners were oh man, who was his partners? Oh no, it wasn't TJP. His partners were Taiji Ishimori and El Phantasmo. Sorry, just need to just my mind went blank there for a second. And he was on the victorious team. Ace Austin, El Phantasmo, Taiji Ishimori were victorious. El Phantasmo defeated, he pinned Bushi in that match to get the win for the Bullet Club. But Ace Austin had a fantastic run in Japan and became super popular. There was a spot where he has, he just does with the magic wands, where he hits his fist on the mat and the wand shoots out of his hand. He did that midway through the match, and the crowd was just in awe. You heard the gasping of the crowd when he did that. They were just like in awe. So he had an absolutely fantastic run in Japan. So I'd like to know Hiromu Takahashi, and they mentioned it again at Dominion, that Hiromu Takahashi wants an X Division Championship match. So are we going to get that match? And I hope we do. It's not going to be at of course at Slammiversary, but against all odds, Ace Austin's not dropping the X Division title at Slammiversary. I'm going to do a preview and prediction show, but I'm going to give you my prediction on that right now. Ace Austin will successfully defend the X Division Championship. I'd be shocked if he didn't. Maybe at against all odds, we're going to get Hiromu Takahashi one-on-one against Ace Austin for the X Division Championship. I know Hiromu Takahashi, he wants that title shot, so I got my fingers crossed that title match does in fact eventually take place, because Scott D'Amore has already said the door's open for Hiromu Takahashi, and he could be the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion on July 1st, as he's facing the champion Taiji Ishimori on June 20th. So it could be a title versus title match. You never know. But again, it's got to happen first. So hopefully, maybe at Against All Odds, or maybe at another at a future show, or even it could even happen in Japan. But I think it's going to happen in Impact Wrestling Ring. I think that Ace Austin said, if you want a shot, you got to come to Impact Wrestling. There's Against All Odds. Then there's then the next event will be in August. So we'll see. We'll see. Well, there's other TV tapings. There's the Southern Hostility, and then Derby City Rumble. So I'm hoping against all odds. I'm hoping that against all odds we see Hiromu Takahashi, Ace Austin defend the Impact Wrestling X Division Championship against Hiromu Takahashi. Got my fingers crossed on that one. All right, so let's head over to Pro Wrestling Noah real quick. Great Muta has announced his retirement. It says here at Cyber Festival 2022, Keiji Mutoh, the Great Muta, announced that he will have 5 more matches and then retire next spring. He's been sidelined since January with a hip injury, but returned in May. Muto said that the doctor told him if his hip becomes deformed, he will need a hip replacement, and there's no way he can wrestle with that. So he said it was the doctor's decision to have him retire, and it wasn't his personal choice. But you know something? He's 59 years old. And he's in. I first saw the Great Muta back in the late 80s, early 90s. NWA, WCW, and he was just absolutely incredible. You know, it's like up to that point, I've never seen anything like him before, and he had a classic series of matches against Sting. That was a great feud against a young Sting. I think they battled over the TV title, if I'm not mistaken. TV title of the US. One of the titles that they battled over is a great feud between the two, and he's 59 years old. Right, and he's still capable of giving us decent matches, but of course he's had to tone down. He's not doing the high risk maneuvers anymore. Naturally, at 59 years old, he said it's not his personal choice, but I'm glad he's decided to retire, especially with all the injuries that he's had. He's had a great career. So 5 more matches next spring, the Great Muta, and I'm sure he's going to be getting an extravagant retirement ceremony by Pro Wrestling Noah. But I'll be following him. I'm following the last 5 matches, and next spring, the Great Muta will retire from professional wrestling. And last but not least, New Japan Pro Wrestling announces the participants for the G1 Climax 32. Very disappointed that there are nobody representing Impact Wrestling in this year's G1 Climax. I had my fingers crossed for Josh Alexander or Moose or somebody, but there will be no Impact Wrestling representative at the G1 Climax this year. So here's a list of the participants. So we got Kazuchika Okada, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Tetsuya Naito, Hiroki Goto, Tama Tonga, Shingo Takagi, Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, Yujiro Takahashi, Evil, Juice Robinson, Jonah making his debut entry. We have Yoshihashi, Toriano, Tomohiro Ishii, Jeff Cobb, Great-O-Khan, Will Ospreay, Aaron Hanari making his debut in the G1 Classic, G1 Climax, Sonata, Jay White, Kenta, El Phantasmo, Tai Chi, Zack Sabre Jr., David Finlay making his debut. Tom Lawler also making his debut, is not listed here, but Tom Lawler also making his debut in the G1 Climax. Zack Sabre Jr. and did I say Lance Archer? AEW's Lance Archer there as well. Now you could be saying, well, there's an AEW representative, but there's no Impact Wrestling representative. But Lance Archer, well known in New Japan Pro Wrestling, when they announced that Lance Archer during Dominion that he was going to be part of G1 Climax, the crowd the crowd let out a huge like a whoa, like he's coming back. So he has history in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that's why Lance Archer is in the G1 Climax. But I'm disappointed. That there's no especially with Ace Austin having a terrific Best of the Super Juniors. I was kind of hoping that we would have seen Josh Alexander, but you know, when you think about it, the G1 Climax is going to take place starting on July 16th and conclude on August 18th. And that's really going to interfere because the Derby City Rumble is July 15th, July 16th. Josh Alexander will be the champion, of course, still the Impact Wrestling World Champion. He's needed for those tapings. And the G1 Climax ends on August 16th, and you have Impact Wrestling Live in Chicago on August 12th and 13th. So Josh Alexander really can't miss 4 days of tapings, 4 nights of tapings. So that's really that's the main reason why you don't see a Josh Alexander. Even I was thinking, well, why not Karl Anderson? But Karl Anderson is going to be at the Derby City Rumble, July 15th to 16th. So he won't be able to get. He's not going to be able to finish up the Derby City Rumble on the 16th and get to Japan on the 16th. So that's why he's not in the G1 Climax as well, or the G1 Climax either, I should say. But it's going to be a great G1 Climax. It's going to be a little different. The field was normally divided into two blocks, but it's going to be divided into 4 blocks. There's going to be 28 wrestlers, and it's going to be divided into 4 blocks with 7 wrestlers in each block. Blocks and matches will be announced at a later date, but yeah, G1 Climax 32 is going to be, they got some tremendous talent. I'm looking forward to Jonah, Tom Lawler making their debut, Aaron Hanare, David Finlay, all making their debuts in the G1 Climax. So it's going to be a great G1 Climax. Oh, I might have said Tom Lawler. I might have skipped over his name, but nonetheless, I see his name is actually here. I might have skipped over his name. But yeah, it's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show. I'm looking forward to the G1 Climax. And of course, the winner of the G1 Climax goes on to Wrestle Kingdom to challenge whoever the IWGP heavyweight champion is right now. It is Jay White. Okay, so that's it for me. I'm going to leave it at that. Anything breaks, I'll be watching, of course, and I'll be back. But until then, thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye. Stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye-bye.